I think maybe even Dirty Jersey Rat. Dirty Jersey. Yay! I love that song.
Happy birthday, happy belated birthday, Kevin and Fakiki. Yes. Anyway, the Kiki thing is very strange because she's obviously has something wrong with her, because I guess Chad tweeted there's no reason for her to be there. So I get why she's there, because she wants to, quote unquote, be a witness to what happened. But again, the sets went down as this way, as far as I could tell. My opening was fine. The crowd was not like hot. They were not a hot crowd. So, you know, when you go on first and you don't have a hot crowd, you just want to get some lamps going. Then Barry Ribs went on, and I missed most of his set because I just went on. So I came into the bar to kind of get a beer and just to kind of whatever. Because I hadn't done stand-up in I don't know how long, a while, at least a couple of years, I think. So, and on the way there, you know, like I saw a couple on the subway holding hands, and I was like, so pathetic. Because, and then I started about, you know, I've been married 20 years, coming up on 20 years. And I've never held my wife's hand on the subway, as far as I know. So I had some jokes about that, but I was just the jokes were coming into my head kind of as I was going there. And I had some stuff that I wanted, you know, some prepared stuff about Dabbleverse stuff. So I was doing that stuff I knew was reliably funny with, you know, my wife's stuff. Take My Wife, Please. I stole it from Nate Bargatze. So I could kind of gauge it by then. You can't really gauge a crowd on new material. You just can't. So you gauge a crowd on material that you know is going to work. It's timeless. It's about my wife, you know, and blah, blah, blah. Just stuff I know is solid. So it worked fine. It wasn't like crushing, but it wasn't a crushing kind of room. So then I brought up Barry Ribs. And like I said, I was Barry's supposed to do 15, ended up doing 10. So I was in a bar just drinking a beer, and then they go, he's off. So again, you know, he was supposed to do 15. I timed it, so he probably did 10. So then Ray was next. So I brought up Ray, you know, and the crowd got all excited because, you know, it's Teo Hank, and that the loudest group is Teo Hank and whatever, and they're all chanting Ray, Ray. And again, it's fun. It's fun. Ray's an idiot, and Ray thinks he's winning because you get 8 guys to chant Ray, and then I joined the chant Ray, Ray, and then I didn't even give him an introduction. I just brought him up to everybody chanting Ray, and then after that I watched all the sets because I didn't want to get ooga booged again, be in a bar and not be there because the MC again. Most comics in New York, when they MC, they don't watch the show, which I think is a mistake. Because you should watch the show to see how people are doing and see what the crowd's doing, see what they're responding to. And then after, you know, like after Barry Rizz was done, I knew we had Ray, so that wasn't a big deal. But basically after that, I just stayed in the room and watched the show. And, you know, unless I had and I just sat back in the back with Gina Levy. She deserves better than Bob Levy. That's a fact. I'm not saying I'm throwing my hat in the ring. I'm not. I'm just saying. So then Ray went on, and I remember Ray got a couple of laughs on Dabbleverse stuff, and then but that was it. A lot of stuff where Dabbleverse stuff, it just didn't land for whatever reason. Most of the people there were Dabbleverse people, but you couldn't really tell exactly. So there were some regular non-Dabbleverse people there, and they ultimately would just leave. You know, and then so then Ray went on, and then he closed with the point is Ray closed with the C word joke. And again, to see it in person and to see that there's really nothing there. The only reason I guess people laugh a little bit at it because he says the C word, like literally cunt like 5 times or something. But the joke's stupid. It doesn't really make sense. It couldn't be made funnier, but of course Ray's an idiot. So he closes with that. Doesn't really get anything. And then Stevie Lou went up. Stevie Lou actually did good because, you know, he wasn't expected to go on, and he did well. And then Chad did really good. Chad was funny. again, you couldn't kill because it would, it just wasn't that kind of a room. It wasn't super crowded. It was probably half full. So when it's half full, you're gonna get the crowd's gonna laugh, but you don't get these big giant laughs. Chad was really funny because I was watching the whole set. I was watching in the back with Gina, and then Bob went on after Chad, and Bob was funny. Me and Gina were laughing. We were in holding hands. Gina brought her daughter, so that's it. That's it. So for Keanu to be there to watch the show, because then she can report to whoever, Gina or whoever, that this guy did well. So then after the show, of course, there's a lot of ruckus, and then at one point, Ray was selling these. Ray was selling these, and he didn't have a black pen. So see on the bottom, it's white, and on the top, it's white. I don't know who ripped it, but that's why you get a black pen. So Ray only had a gray pen. So of course, typical Ray, just incompetent, even when it comes to penmanship. So I see Ray. Oh, I see Brian Land or something, and he's like, Ray's mad because I didn't pay him. I go, what do you mean? He goes, well, I said, you're supposed to pay Ray. He goes, you remember I said I was gonna, if Ray showed up, I would give him $100. I'm like, I guess vaguely. I mean, but I thought Ray was getting paid through Levy or the show. I had nothing to do with the money. I didn't get paid. I said I didn't need to get paid. It's a fucking home game for me. I don't need. I'd rather give the money to Chad or even Levy for gas and tolls, or not Ray. And then Stevie was live streaming. Anyway, so I think that was the first time I went outside. I had to go to the ATM because I said, Ray, you didn't get paid, and he's literally in tears. Like, no. I go, nobody paid you. I said, how much were you supposed to get paid? He goes, $100. And I said. And then he's like, I could have made 75 somewhere else. And it's like, okay, well, that's still not as good as and you wouldn't have nobody would have chanted Ray at your other fucking show, you fucking loser. So I go to the ATM next door at the bodega, and Brian Landon comes with me. I mean, I don't know exactly why, but he came with me. Brian Landon's a good egg. So anyway, he came with me. I got the money and I paid Ray. I came back and paid Ray $100. Then here's another fucking thing. And again, Schmuel Buckman, another just fucking grifting loser. He even Bob's like, take a picture with Schmuel. I go, yeah, that's not happening, Bob. So again, I don't know. Bob thinks that if I'm friends with Schmuel, somehow that's a win for me or something. But I mean, you got to ask Bob that. Like, how is that good for me? If I know what Shmuel's gonna do. Shmuel's gonna be like, "Look, Kevin doesn't even. Kevin talks a big game. It's like I can't make him not be there. That's the problem with all these events. I can't make Keanu not be there because she was already there when I got there. And then I said I was going to demand to see Shmuel's license before I let him in. But I think he came in late because I think he was coming in. It's kind of dark in the room, but I think he was coming in as I was being introduced. So I wasn't about to stop and go, Shmuel, let me see your ID, because I got bigger fish to fry at that point. Because I think Brian McCarthy was on stage at that point. He was bringing me up. So, and then after the show, I went to the bathroom. They don't have a comedian's bathroom. So you got to use the public bathroom. So I went to the bathroom before the show, and then I didn't go until after the show because I didn't want to get ooga booged like Barry Ribs did to me and not be ready when the comic's not there. So I didn't go to the bathroom. I wasn't drinking a lot. I had a couple of beers, but I was. So then after the show, I went downstairs to the green room because I went to the green room before the show. Me and Chad were down there on Barry Ribs, and I didn't know if I left anything in the green room, so I was just checking. Then I went to the bathroom. Or maybe I went to the bathroom first. Anyway, I go to the bathroom. I know the Rodney Dangerfield's bathroom very well because, I did a million shows there. So there's 3 urinals, and then there's 2 very small stalls you can use. And they're kind of in the back of the bathroom. But the bathroom's tiny. So I go to the bathroom. Nobody's there. And I use the one stall, the urinal. There's like, when you walk in, there's like 1, 2, 3. And they're going away from the door. And then the 2 bathroom stalls are in the back of the room, but it's a small bathroom. Anyway, so I used the urinal furthest from the door, and that's closest to like where the bathroom stalls are. A guy walks in, and he uses the stall closest to the door because if he used the middle urinal, then it's gay because he's right next to me. So the guy made the right move. He's like, now he's near the door. The door's closed, but you could, people are coming and going. Anyway, so he used the urinal and he goes, "Hey, Kevin." I go, "Who are you?" I don't know who he said he was. I forget. Then I'm kind of wrapping things up. I'm talking to him a little bit, I guess. And then I'm kind of wrapping things up, leaving. Or maybe I'm just zipping up or whatever. And I see, who do I see out of the corner of my eye? Schmuel Buckman coming into the bathroom. So, and this is after I already said, no, I'm not taking a picture with him to Bob Levy. And so Schmuel Buckman, I see peripherally because, I'm still kind of looking at the wall, zipping up because you don't zip up. You don't turn around to zip up and with your dick hanging out. So I'm zipping up and I said, I'm pretty sure that's Schmuel. So I'm like, I'm getting the fuck out of here. So then Schmuel, so the guy's still pissing, I guess. The guy's the first urinal. So I'm just leaving. I'm leaving the door. And then at that point, Schmuel goes, "Hey, Kevin." And I just keep walking. So again, I don't, Schmuel might be some kind of fucking, who knows? Who knows? Ask Bob. Bob's tight with Schmuel, and Bob wants me to be friends with Schmuel so we can go get brunch. It's again. So this is what's happening. So Schmuel wants to get my picture and or corner me in the bathroom. So I was like, well, that's odd. But again, I'm leaving. He's like, "Hey, Kevin." I didn't turn around. And then I knew it was Schmuel because I could hear that fucking creepy fucking haunted house voice. So then we're upstairs. We kind of meet Bubba. We don't know if it's real Bubba. We think it's Bubba because I said, "Who are you?" He's like, I don't know if he introduced himself to me or whatever. I said, "Who are you? Are you Bubba?" No, I think he said, somebody said, "Oh yeah, this guy's picking up all our tabs." And I go, "Who's this, Bubba?" Because Bubba's always very generous. I said, "Who's this, Bubba?" And Bubba goes, "No, I'm just a guy." So then I think it turned out to be Bubba because then he went to the bar after. And then people were saying, he never told me officially, but I think he told other people that he was Bubba. So then, we're all kind of going outside. And again, the whole thing with Keanu's standing in front of I think at the bar next door to Rodney's, like a $2 whore. Like literally like a $2 whore on a Saturday night, not particularly attractive. Just let her, like, yeah, I'm a $2 whore. The way she's dressed, like a $2 whore. So, and then, I'm just, people are outside. So at this point, I'm like, I said I'm going to the bar next door. So I don't know, people are outside. Tommy Jordan showed up. And again, I don't know exactly what happened, but she's standing against the window, I think at the bar. So I'm walking, the door's near there. So I guess I'm walking towards the door. And then I don't know if Chad was outside or somebody said, "Oh, Keanu's talking to Gino." So then I did what Chad did, what Gino does, dropped a lot of N-bombs to, as a gag, as a goof, as a goofy gag. So then whatever. And then Keanu's like, "Oh, I don't know if she says like, that's not appropriate." And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't give a fuck, you $2 whore." And then I learned all this from Gino and Anthony Cumia. Like if somebody's a pest, being a pestilence or whatever the word is, if somebody's annoying you, I just doing what Gino does. If I was on my phone talking to somebody, Gino would be playing with my phone and, "Hey, I'm going to knock the phone out of your hand." So that's what I did with Keanu. "Oh, look, I'm going to knock the phone out of your hand." And she's like, "How dare you? How dare you?" And I was like, "You're a cunt. You're a fucking loser cunt." Why is Keanu there? Isn't she a comic? She didn't have any shows? Again, go to the show. I don't control it. I don't control the Sidewalk either. Not only that, she has such a problem with me like dropping N-bombs when she was talking to Gino. She wasn't on speaker. Gino wasn't on speaker, so I don't know what Gino was saying. So then I'm like playing with the phone like I'm going to knock it out of her hand. And people are like, "Oh, you can't do that." I'm like, no, Cumia ripped some glasses off some guy and the cop showed up. And then people are like, that's a crime to knock a phone out of someone's hands. I'm like, oh, it is. Oh, I'm gonna turn myself in. Citizen's arrest. So then not only that, then we all go inside. We go to the back. Who comes into the bar? Keanu. I'm like, she has nowhere to go still. And if she has such a problem with me outside, why would she come into the bar? And she never left. At one point, I had to tell Kevin Soundboard, I'm like, go ask Keanu why she's still here. Because Kevin Soundboard is a big guy. So I said, go ask Keanu why she's still here. She was at the bar. We were in the back at whatever the bar is next to Rodney's. We were in the back. We had like a couple of tables. And I was like, so I said to Kevin Soundboard, ask her why she's still, because at this point it's late. I said, ask her why she's still here. So he went over, asked her, and he came back. I said, what'd she say? She's like, oh, she said she's leaving now. But it's like, why is she there? I understand she wants to watch the show and be ears on the ground and be like, yeah, this guy did well. This guy didn't do well. She was actually heckling Stevie Lou. So at some point I was going to be like, she should be tossed out. Because Mark, the owner, came up to me before I brought up Levy. He goes, can you get the crowd to calm down? I'm like, Bob. I said, yeah, but Bob can handle a fucking unruly crowd. And it wasn't that unruly. They were just chanting Chad and whatever. But I'm like, why is Keanu still here? But again, I'm not going to get her thrown out of Ronnie's because she's friends with the owner. So again, I don't give a fuck. But she's there. And again, I mean, these people are like, I don't even know exactly what happened to Keanu. But she is like a glutton for punishment because she could have just left. I understand she wants to report back to Gino about who did well and who didn't do well and what happened and what she saw. Go ahead, report all you want. I don't give a fuck. But then she's hanging out outside. She's not there with anybody. Like a $2 whore. And then after everyone disperses from the sidewalk and either goes home or goes inside, then she's still hanging out at the bar, turning tricks. Unfucking believable. And then Schmuel, I guess there's a video of Schmuel trying to get in a picture, still trying to get in a picture with Kevin Brennan. I mean, these people, I mean, I have no idea. I have no idea. Thank you, Dan G. Great job last night, friend. Biggest takeaway, I don't know this for sure, but I have a hunch Theo Hank has saved Johnny Carson from getting his ass kicked dozens of times. Johnny Carson literally wanted to fight everybody. And then, I mean, it was fun. I felt sorry for Chad because he wasn't drinking. Like, I was never drunk or anything, but I was drinking. So, you know, when you're drinking, it's easy to tolerate nonsense. But Chad's just sitting there, and I was like, I don't know how you're dealing with this. Yeah, and then Theo Hank left. And then Teamster Tim left. And I thought they were both going to give, I thought they were both responsible for Johnny Carson. So I don't know what Johnny Carson was still there when I left.
And hey, Adam.
Hey, Dirty Rat.
Dirty Rat's a good boy. He is. Check him out on the YouTube channel.